is what we had started this. The second part of this unit, the first part is mainly with respect to the theories of public relations, roles and models of public relations. That is the first part of unit 2. And the second part, in fact, in the earlier syllabus, this was a separate unit, but in your curriculum, this has been clubbed with unit 2 only. That is conflicts and their resolutions and the role of PR in conflict resolutions in business parts. We noted that there could be resolutions between individuals and groups when they actively oppose each other's views, or opinions, or suggestions, or stand, or decision, or action. That is where conflicts or frictions arise. You know. And we noted that if you see the fourth bullet point, three authors, Briggs, Wong, and Cloman, have identified 9 different types of conflict resolution strategies. Because when conflicts are there, when frictions are there, whether between individuals or between organizations or between individuals and organizations, these frictions or conflicts are going to cost a lot, either to the individual concerned or to the organization. So there is no point in continuing to live with these frictions or conflicts. The earlier these conflicts or the frictions are resolved amicably, with understanding, with compromise, with adjustment, with the sacrifice on either parties, it would be better for the individuals or the organization. So conflict resolution is a very important managerial function these days, especially these days. And several researchers and authors have developed and identified a number of strategies to manage and conflict these resolutions. See, 9 are there. I think they are all quite familiar and simple, scientific or technical. First strategy, conflict resolution strategy could be contention. What is this contention? Involves one party forcing its position on other. Two parties are there, they have been opposing each other. Suddenly assume that one party gets an upper hand. One party gets an upper hand, and he or the firm or the organization is successful in forcing, in compelling the other to succumb, to accept, right, to surrender to its position. Then there won't be any further opposition, there won't be any further friction or connection. Very conventional mode of conflict resolution, right? If both of them are on equal footing or of equal strength or equal weakness, I think the friction or conflict would continue indefinitely. But by somehow, if one party gets an upper hand over the other, you have seen this in street fights. If one becomes strong, one starts shouting, right, louder than the other normally will get will surrender. And he might not be able to match the force of the other party, opposing party. Then instead of getting bruised or injured, it's better to surrender. So in that case, the conflict or friction is likely to die a natural death or likely to disappear or gets resolved. So this is one of the very conventional strategies we are all familiar with, where one party forces its position, strongly forces its position on the other, so that the other accepts it meekly, other surrenders to this, other accepts this stand of the opposing party without further opposition, without further resistance. So the conflict will die sooner than later. That is the first strategy. Second strategy of conflict resolution could be cooperation, where both parties work together to reach a mutually beneficial solution. Very familiar, you can easily understand this. Instead of continuing to fight, instead of continuing to get harmed, instead of continuing to get injured and losing, because if there is a prolonged fight, there will be no winners. You have seen in war, there will be no winners. Everybody will be a loser. There will be death, destruction, loss of lives and properties on all these sides. Instead of continuing to fight, if we are able to uh, lose or reduce our ego, our stand, right? If we extend a friendly hand to the other party, if we are ready to cooperate, right? You may have to adjust, you may have to sacrifice, you may have to lose, but it's better than continuing to fight and lose everything in the end. Because in any conflict or war, probably you are aware, you have read, there will be no winner. So everybody will be a loser. Even the winner will be a loser in one way or the other. So instead of prolonging a conflict or friction, it is advised that both the parties work together, understand each other's positions, accommodate each other's positions, extend cooperation, a friendly hand, friendliness to the other party, so that they mutually both will be benefited. There will be benefits if we cooperate, right? So if these parties are ready to work together to reach a mutually beneficial resolution that is likely to resolve many frictions, whether it is within organizations, between individuals, or between countries also. We know this, right? Uh, India and Pakistan are at war for the last 50 years, and both of us are losing. Both of us are losing. We are not gaining anything. We are not been able to gain anything. Pakistan has not been able to. Instead of if we are able to cooperate, crores and crores of rupees which we would have otherwise spent on this proxy war, on defense, etc., would be used for the betterment of the people. Crores and crores of rupees of our defense project is going exclusively for this kind of maintaining this friction or conflict. So better to cooperate so that and reach a mutually agreeable, acceptable, beneficial solution. That would be the second strategy. Third is accommodation. One party partially yields on its position and lowers its aspiration. Many conflicts arise due to this because of the higher our aspirations, our expectations from the other, right? We expect more from the other, and if the other party fails to meet those aspirations or expectations, there will be resistance, there will be opposition, there will be dissatisfaction about the other party. On the other hand, if we are able to reduce our expectation from the other, demands from the other, right? Aspirations from the other. And if the other party is able to meet these lower aspirations or expectations, I think there will be a happy ending. There will not be any conflict or misunderstanding or explicit or implicit opposition to the other party's stand. So if you are able to reduce your expectations from the other party, the counterparty, many frictions would be reduced. You must have seen these in serials, in the films, etc., between husband and wife, between spouse, etc. When the expectations are more, there will be a lot of war of words, at least, not physical, this may be verbal duet. But if the aspirations are reduced, if you don't expect this, and if the other party, the counterparty, does not meet this, then also there will not be any misunderstanding, friction, or opposition to others' behavior or other things. So that is another way of reducing or even avoiding conflicts between the parties. That is accommodation. You accommodate the other. You accommodate by lowering your expectations to accommodate the other. Right? If I expect too much from you, or if you expect too much from me, and if I am not able to deliver or meet your expectations, or if you are not able to meet my expectations, there will be some kind of dissatisfaction by the teacher about the students, or the students about the teacher. But if we reduce our expectations, I don't expect my students, right? I am expecting 100% attendance, but it is not there. I am reducing it. So even if 50% of the students attend this class, it's good. I'll be quite comfortable in conducting my class. And I will be happy. I will not have any opposition, any ill will, right? About you. Similarly, you, what is this are taking, say 25 classes for such a small unit. If you reduce, if you are able to accommodate this, teacher is like this. He goes on doing harikathas in his classes. So it's okay. Let me listen to it. What is that I am going to lose? If you reduce your expectations from the teacher, then also probably your opposition, your resistance, not physical, mental resistance, would be less, and there would be a happy situation, happy environment between the conflicting parties. So that is another thing. Then avoidance. This is very good. Leave the situation. One or both the parties leave the conflict either physically or psychologically. If you are there, I think it will continue. But if you leave, This is we advise many times, even psychologists, counselors suggest this. If there is a conflicting, heated argument, heated situation, for a few minutes, you leave the situation. The things will calm down on their own. If you are there, probably it will intimidate the other party. He or she will start uh, continuing talking to you, continuing his argument or his compulsions, his force. But if you leave, he will not be having a counterparty to fight with, because to fight there should be another party. If the other party is not there, where is the fight? There will not be any fight. So avoidance could be yet another conflict resolution strategy, even in organizations or between individuals. So as PR people, you need to be aware of this. If one or both the parties, let both the parties have a ceasefire. We won't for the next 1 hour we are not going to talk. In that 1 hour, probably you'll be able to reflect on your behavior, on your conduct. You will be able to introspect. Probably you might feel embarrassed to find that on such a silly matter you made a big scene. Was it really required? Was it not avoidable? Right? I could have avoided. Right? Why did I made this childlike behavior? Many of times you too have must have faced this situation after some time. After, for example, morning while leaving to the college, you might have fought with your mother for the delay in breakfast or whatever, or your first found there. And after coming to the college, after 1 hour, 2 hours, probably you might have reflected, you might have felt very bad that you did this such a silly mistake of arguing with your parents in the morning. Right? You may feel embarrassed. So leave the situation sometimes. It will be a very good strategy. Leave the situation. Things are bound to calm down in the absence of any counterparty to continue the fight. You cannot fight with a ghost. You cannot fight with a wall. There is not. If you want to fight, you will have to have a counterparty, the opposition party. If the opposition party is not there, there is a fight. So this could be another strategy. Either one party or both the parties to the conflict leave the situation for some time, right? Reflect, introspect, come back, right? Exchange in a very cool, calm down atmosphere. Many of the differences could be resolved, and many of the causes of conflict or misunderstanding could be resolved. That is the experience. I think you too, as youngsters, you too must have faced this. Whether it is your conflict with your family members, your parents, or even your friends, you might have experienced. Just try to recall and try to relate back to this strategy. Unconditional constructive. Fifth strategy, organization reconciles the strategic interest of both the organization and its public. Whether public follows guidance or not, even if the other party to the conflict does not participate. This is a very accommodative nature. You continue to be a good person. You continue to be constructive, irrespective of the fact that the other party, especially in a organization and public, especially in a public relations situation, this is very, very relevant. Whether you, whether the other party follows your guidelines or not, you continue to give this, you continue to reinforce, you continue to send out your messages, hoping that one day sanity will provide, one day wisdom will come to them. You have seen this for the last 30 days, government has been continuously telling us to stay indoors, to stay home, avoid going out, wear masks, maintain social distance. They didn't do this for the first 1 day or first 3 days and stopped at it. Because then there will be pockets of population which might not be following this, right? Which might not have understood the significance of this. So they have been continuing with these directives day after day, right? In different media, they have been continuing with these guidelines, irrespective of the fact, or even knowing that many people are not following this. Probably if you watch the news channels these days, they will show you in many pockets, whether it is in Bangalore or in Surat or in other places, whether in markets or in public places. Many people are not following this. But this has not stopped these government authorities, health authorities, NGOs, right? civil society organizations to stop their activity. They are continuing it. So instead of simply blaming the public, instead of simply trying to control them physically, to continue to inform, continue to update, continue to counsel, so that there won't be any room for opposition. So today, 90% of our population are following these guidelines, 10% are not following. Why to fight with them? Try to bring that minority also over to this. So probably I will continue this propaganda campaign at another day, probably 92%, probably 95%, and one fine day, entire 100% might fall. Right? Have this faith, have this hope, continue your constructive work. The opposition or friction is bound to die down, bound to get reduced or decline. So that is a very well established, well tested strategy. Don't give up and don't stop your good work. Right? Many times we get exaggerated, we get tired, and we start blaming, we start hating that 10% of the people, ignoring the fact that 90% of the people are. So why to 90% is a big sum. Let us take satisfaction from this fact and let us continue our constructive work on the remaining 10%. Why to oppose them? Right? Why to have a fight with them? Why to blame and condemn them? Let us tolerate and let us continue, and sooner than later they too are going to join the mainstream. That is compromise. This word we have been hearing quite often in our day-to-day life. An alternative agreement that stands part way between parties' preferred position. You have this stand, you have this stand. If both of you get stuck to your stance, there won't be any agreement, there won't be any mutual cooperation, and the friction is bound to remain, bound to continue. But if you are able to have some via media, some compromise, okay, it is just like what you do while bargaining with your vegetable vendor. He says 20 rupees a kg, you say 10 rupees a kg. And if he sticks to that 20 rupees and if you stick to your 10 rupee stand, there won't be any transaction, there won't be any relationship. So to relate and to buy, he has to sell and you have to buy. So strike a balance, strike a compromise. So that 15 rupees. I am ready to pay 5 rupees extra. You also be ready to lose 5 rupees. So sometimes this compromise this is called an alternative. You wanted 20 rupees. Your buyer wanted to pay only 10 rupees. If you stick to your stand, you will not be able to, you will have to come back without the vegetables. You will have to have all his inventory unsold till the end of the day. Both it will be useless. Instead, let's to strike a balance. So 15 rupees a kg probably that would solve this problem, and transaction can take place. So that is compromise principle. Seventh strategy principle: both parties hold to higher ethics that cannot be compromised. This is a big challenge, right? I don't know how this is going to help in resolving the conflict. If you are very high on your moral grounds, your principal grounds, your ethical grounds, and probably there is a window open here. If both of you are principled, and one of the principles could be to accommodate other, to cooperate with the other, to accept the other stand, probably even then, both being principled. Yes, we're talking about in a very positive note, in a very positive note, very favorable note. Then both might be ready to sit together, discuss, right? Identify the points of friction or misunderstanding or difference, and might try to reduce or remove some of these uh, differences of opinions and possible sources of future conflict or resolution. So if both are principled, both believe in ethics, both believe in morals, then also, because conflict is a very, very unwelcome development, you know this. Nobody, no principled person wants conflict or say, friction or difference. They want a very cohesive, friendly living together, right? When that is the principle of both the parties, then probably they will be able to iron out their differences, the discussion, the talks across the table, and the frictions or conflicts could be resolved or even reduced. Win-win or no deal. Both parties hold off on any agreement until they are ready for the deal to be struck. This is a very probably a prolonged strategy, right? It takes time until you identify the situation, right? Where both the parties gain, both the parties win. You keep on continuing with your different set of opinions. You will be discussing with each other, you will be identifying the differences. Probably you are very patient. You are not in a hurry to resolve this conflict. Until and unless both the parties gain from this, you are not going to shake hands. That is the situation. Probably you may have to work extra to identify these win-win situations. Win-win situation. That is where both the parties to the conflict will identify if you have the time, you have the resources, you have the patience, but don't fight, but maintain your differences. Try to delete one difference together. Finally, you might be having no differences, and hence no room for any conflict. So this is again appears to be a prolonged this because suddenly both the parties fighting with each other might not be in a position to win. One have to lose, other will win. But if you are patient enough to identify a winning situation for both the parties, probably it might emerge. It might emerge with sufficient homework, with sufficient open-mindedness, sufficient discussion, right? Very strategic moves. Probably a deal may come where both the parties win. Otherwise, no deal at all. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. We agree to disagree. Have you heard of this statement? Finally, in spite of our best efforts, we have not been able to meet a common ground, identify a common ground. So thank you very much. Let's revisit the situation, revisit the problem after 6 months, after 1. So till then, we agree to disagree. Many WTO meetings, etc., etc. End up like this. They all discuss, they all present their country's position. No consensus, no agreement. Thank you very much. We shall meet again in Switzerland. We will meet again in Brazil. We shall meet again in Russia in January 2021. Till then, many of the WTO talks are on like this. I can give a quote example. So either everybody should win, otherwise there will be no deal. That could also, if not totally remove, at least put a lid down, put a cap on the conflict. Finally, mediated. Mediated means negotiated. Involves use of an outside disinterested party. You two have been fighting, right? You have become totally obsessed with each other as a stance. You want to stick to your stand. You want to fight down the other stand because you have your interest in it. You want to observe or accomplish your objectives, your respective objectives or stance. Then you stick to your stand, probably there will be no meeting point. Then let a third party, a arbitrator, a mediator who is related neither to you nor to the other, who can have a very objective, independent, disinterested position. He will be able to hear it just like a court or an arbitrator. They are not related to either of the plaintiff or the defendant. They will listen to both the versions, then and as per the law, as per the norms, they give the judgment. Acceptable to both parties. This should be accepted by the both parties. This will also reduce the conflict. Many of the court proceedings probably can be related to this mediated. This is not meditated. It is not. It is mediated. Some other party mediates with you, right? listens to both the parties objectively, independently, neutrally, right? He is not found to favor one party, either of this party or that. Whatever may be the truth will be there independent stand. See the court's decision in Ramachandra. They court you didn't find court favoring this party or that party. They independent stand. Many of these court proceedings this will happen because the court is not interested in either of these two parties. It only wants to resolve the conflict between the parties. So this could be mediation, arbitration, right? Legal proceedings could be another strategy to reduce the resolution. So please note these nine very significant, widely popular conflict resolutions as we are professionals who are required to be aware of the potential of these strategies and you will have to apply these strategies in situations that might arise in your professional work. So that's why this has been added to your. This is all. These different strategies have been placed in a kind of a matrix, right, where everything, whatever you have heard in the previous slide, contention, cooperation, accommodation, compromise, avoidance, all these are there. So these things probably where both the parties will with whereas these one party may have to make some sacrifice in this section where my cursor is moving. Can you see this? This or this always one way it will benefit more comparative, relatively more to one party than the other party. Either this, these three or these three. Whereas these three is a win-win zone for both people. So depending upon the situation, you may have to use one or more of these strategies and try to resolve or reduce the conflict or what is that friction. You can see here in this diagram all the nine strategies are listed. These three strategies are likely to help one person or the other person. These three strategies are likely to favor one party relatively, I'm saying, more than other party. Whereas these cooperation or unconditional constructive continuation or win-win until you find a win-win situation. These three are likely to favor both the parties equally, right? Not to their original position, but both the parties are likely to win, and in the bargain, the conflict of friction is expected to get resolved. Right? So it's a very beautiful diagram, captures all the situations we have listed in the previous nine after competition, combination, avoidance, compromise, principal stand, mediated situation, and this cooperation and control. So try to link this to the respective parties. They will to understand the significance and utility of this strategy. And at last, we have come to the end of this one. Let me have a quick look at this. Understanding the theories. We have studied three sets of theories, right? 2 plus 4 plus, I think 3, right? 3 out of 4. So 10 theories we have studied. Understanding the theories behind the behavior of the organization's public is essential for developing strategies and tactics that can help an organization achieve its goals. So try to understand these theories, that these theories help you understand the behavior of your target audience, your public, right? And this understanding of the behavior will help you design and develop appropriate strategies, tactics, programs, campaigns, messages that you can roll out to your public to achieve your organization goals. If you don't know the expectation, don't know the behavior, don't know the conduct of your other external stakeholders, probably you will be doing something in dark, right? Without any objective, without any vision, or without any goal. But better to understand their behavior and conduct, right? How do they behave in different situations? Accordingly, you can customize your programs, your strategies, your activities, your policies, right? Your offers, your campaigns, your messages, so that these strategies, etc., become very effective. They will help you in achieving your organization objectives and goals of increasing sales, increasing profits, increasing clientele, increasing market share, whatever. So try to understand the theories that is the lesson. Modern PR practitioners focus on two-way communication that values the input of the public as much as the output of the company. Companies, because of their strength, have a lot of persuasive powers. They can persuade us, right? They can brainwash us. But this is a very conventional method. The latest today's PR professionals give equal importance to the inputs that they are going to gather from the public. They want to incorporate or they want to consider the input from the public in their messages, in their public relations messages, and then they will be using their persuasive power to make the public follow, make the public adopt, make the public understand their message effectively. So this is the new development we are finding in PR professionals, thanks to the understanding and the wisdom given by these theories of the public relations. Input from the public combined with the persuasive power of the organization is going to or is expected to bring maximum benefit to the organization. So it is not won't entirely depend on your persuasive power. People still may not follow your policies or offers or messages. Consider them as a partner, right? Take input from them, right? Incorporate these inputs, suggestions, views, opinions as much as feasible. Then we design and customize your message, take it to the public. They are going to lap it up. They are going to accept it and follow it. And this is going to benefit them. So that's it. Hope we have been able to follow all these things. So with this, I am completing the unit 2, and these 2 units are going to be the syllabus for your first test. Okay, then tomorrow.
Sir, hello.
Yeah. Yeah, Sonia. Yeah, Sonia, you wanted to add something? Hello. Hello. Are you there? Hello.
Sir, open book system ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಯಾವ ತರ ಇರುತ್ತೆ?
Open book system, there will not be any supervision. The questions will be given to you, right? The question paper will be sent to you through your respective HR group or marketing group or this one, and you will be given that much time. You can open any book, any source, you can see from that one and write your answers. Very easy, is it not? That is the only way now, only option available to us to conduct the CIE. Otherwise, you will not be able to do the CIE continuous evaluation. So we have, that is what university has suggested, conduct one online test, even if it is an open book system. Anyway, when they come back to the department, you can conduct the second test in a conventional classroom setting, and you can take the average of these 2. So there is only 2 tests. This one, online open book. Okay. At the end of 1.5 hours, you will have to scan your answer scripts. So write the answers legibly